This is the second ELRS video. I'm going to talk a little bit about the advanced features, which I ran on for too long yesterday, and that was connecting the receiver up like I did the transmitter to my local access point in my house. I don't know why that comes up every time I open this, but it frequently does. Anyway, right now you can see the receiver is happy model EP1 or EP2 on the current version of the firmware 3.2.1. If you click the Wi-Fi right here, tell it to set up new home network, it'll look out and see what Wi-Fi it finds in your house. This is my router across the way, and you give it the password for it. And then you click confirm. And you'll notice right here, once you set that receiver up on the home network like I did the transmitter, there's a different address to go to. Instead of ELRS_TX.local, it's ELRS_RX.local for the receiver. And what that means is you can use that address for getting to the receiver. If I click right here, I just bookmarked it. And see ELRS_RX local. Again, I don't know why this comes up every time. I just either click here or click close. And I don't worry about it. So see this, if you brought an airplane or a quad into the house, powered it up, didn't have any transmitter on or anything, 60 seconds later, this receiver goes into Wi-Fi mode, but instead of being an access point itself, it looks for an access point and finds one in your home network, and it will connect. And what that allows you to do, because that home networks is usually giving out a bunch of IP addresses to all your computers and your cell phones and tablets and TVs that are using Wi-Fi in your home. The DHCP dynamic host configuration protocol will give out IP addresses on the fly. They won't always be the same. In people's routers, you can go in and force them to be the same for each device based on MAC address, but I'm not going to get into that here. That has more to do with computers. And what that lets you do is just easily upgrade binding phrases, etc., etc. By the way, while I'm here, I always come in here and turn off enable model match. And what this does, if you enable it, each receiver can have a model match number 0 to 63, and you can set it up in your transmitter receiver to only bind or only connect if those two numbers agree. I've got one transmitter. I'm going to use it on multiple receivers. I want to bind all of them one time. I don't want to have to come back and go through 63 of them if I had that many, binding them again on any occasion. So I turned that model match off. When this is connected to your home router Wi-Fi, that is giving it an IP address. It's not the 10.0.0.1. It is a different one. If you know much about your home router, you can go in there and find all these things out. You could use that number right here by going manually and connecting to the address that the home router gives it. Sometimes I find that this program, the configurator, will pick up those numbers. I'm going to go ahead and turn on my transmitter real quick here. That the configurator will pick up those numbers sometime and show you them at the bottom of the configurator. And if it does, you can select them, click out on the right and select them, and go ahead and upgrade the firmwares in your transmitters and receivers real easily over your home internet that way. If they don't appear at the bottom, down here, the only way, oops, look, it just found it, and I don't know why it comes up and does this randomly. But I just turned on my transmitter, and you notice it found ELRS_TX.local. That's not what it says here. And it assigned it an address of 192.168.1.27. I don't know what causes this program to do that, because the receiver is across the room in Wi-Fi mode itself, and we can get to it. I'm going to jump out real quick here and show you that ELRS transmitter login. There's the transmitter, current firmware, and the receiver login, ELRS_RX.local. And here's the RX. Both of those are up. They both have been given IP addresses that are unique by the router. Again, you see, for some reason now, I guess because two of them are up, the transmitter IP address fell out of the bottom of the configurator, even though it's still all ready to go. I don't understand why they appear at the bottom of the configurator or why they disappear from the bottom of the configurator. Because flashing these is a little different if they don't appear at the bottom and you can't select them. So this has to do with computers. This does not have anything to do with ExpressLRS. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you inside my router. Now I'm going to go get in there first before I start recording this. So I'll be right back, because I'm not going to show you how I get in my router or anything about it. I'm going to mask everything out except these three boxes. And you can see right here that the ELRS_RX has been given an IP address of 192.168.1.26, and the ELRS_TX has been given an address of 192.168.1.27. Only the number on the end of all these devices will change, and this is set up inside the kind of the little name server inside your wireless router to associate this address with this name. That's why you can and use that name and get to that address. But you could also use the IP address. So this is the transmitter. The receiver was at 26. Watch this. 192.168.1.26. Enter. Bing. See, I got to it that time with its IP address. That's the receiver. This one was gotten to with the ELRS_TX local. That's the transmitter. That could just as easily been done by putting 192.168.1.2. Was it 2.6? Let's say it was 2.7, if I remember right. Bingo. So if your configurator reveals to you the IP addresses, you can get them that way. That'll be the only way some of you can do it. If you don't know how to get into your router and do anything with IP addresses, they won't appear down here. Now let me show you real quick how you have to flash these devices if you're going to use them on your home network and you can't figure out those IP addresses. You can come in here, and what do I have here? I have the happy model receiver, which was the 2.6 address. I can come in here and say 192.168.1.26 in manual mode, build and flash, and it should flash my receiver. There you go. Upload success. It flashed my receiver because I could figure out what IP address the router across the room gave it and type it in here. That's the correct one. I put in the wrong IP address. 2.7 is what I was wanting. Build and flash. So, unless you're lucky enough to have the configurator pop up, and you can see here, upload success. So that flashed my transmitter by doing that. So unless you're lucky enough to have the configurator, like it just did again, I just turned on the transmitter again while it was in the configurator. If I turn on the receiver again right now, it never seems to do that same thing where both of them appear down here. So see, now while this is set like this, I could click select right here. And even though this says 10.0.0.1, after I've clicked select down here, it will do what it's supposed to do. I don't quite understand how their software needs a little extra help, a little modification. There you go, upload success. And my transmitter again falls out of Wi-Fi mode. Wi-Fi mode goes away at the bottom of the screen here. I put it back in Wi-Fi mode. Oops. And boom, it finds it again. Now one would think that the receiver would do that same thing, would not one? I'm going to go ahead and terminate Wi-Fi mode in my transmitter. I'm going to go ahead and shut it down. And it's going to complain because it established a connection over there with my receiver, which I had on, which you notice. And it's going to complain again right now.
Receiver still connected.
Because they are bound and they connected. But you see, the receiver never comes up down here. I'm going to go ahead and turn it off. Can you see how this got into being a 40-minute video yesterday if I did it all at once? I'm going to turn the receiver back on. Now the receiver has to sit here for 60 seconds before it goes into Wi-Fi mode. I'm going to have everything set in here. Happy model, EP2 receiver, 3.21 target. I'm going to have everything set in here for when it times out after 60 seconds and goes into that Wi-Fi mode. Will it connect to the access point, be given an IP address, and then it propagates around the room and computers? Will it pop up in the bottom of this configurator for the receiver like it does in the when I turn on the transmitter? It's gone into Wi-Fi mode. Boom, there it is. Check that out. Happy model EP. So even though this is Wi-Fi devices in this default, and here's your 26 IP address, click select here, and then you can build in Flash that receiver with it connected to your home network. You can do that from any computer that's got this configurator on it. Upload success. See, we're finished right then and there. Any computer that's got the configurator on it in your house. I understand you can do it from your cell phone, etc. Again, the receiver rebooted as part of that firmware update. It's over there flashing slowly for 60 seconds while I do this little song and dance. And when the 60 seconds times out, it will go back into Wi-Fi mode, and hopefully it will come up in the bottom of this configurator again, the IP address it's at. That'll be great for those of you who can't configure routers, and only hiring a computer person coming over to work on your home router works. But I did show you a way you can find in your router those IP addresses. It just went into Wi-Fi mode, and look, it did. It came back up RX. It found it again, and it does appear at the bottom of this list. I'm going to turn the transmitter on.
Welcome to OpenTX. Throttle warning.
And go into ERS Wiki Lua. Go down and Wi-Fi connectivity. Turn on the Wi-Fi. It's now connecting to the access point and getting its own address. I was wanting to see if they both, it fell out of it. I had to send it back in again. Oops, look at that. I don't know why this comes up from time to time and doesn't come up from time to time. But there's both of them. Based on what you put up here for the release and what you put here, this is the receiver. You could select the receiver here and flash the receiver. For me, that's the first time I've ever been able to bring up both of them. Upload success to the receiver, back. Change this up here to the Pro transmitter. Come down here and select the Pro transmitter. The receiver disappeared because it's rebooting right now. Build and flash. See that quickly from any device with this configurator on it. I can build and flash. Upload success. So that's the things I have found with that. Now, if you leave, I'm going to put my transmitter, I'm going to shut down the receiver. I don't have to do anything with it right now. No, I'm going to do this on the receiver.
Telemetry lost.
Change my mind again. I'm going to go in real quick. Just leave my receiver off. And I'm going to send my transmitter back into access point mode where it is the access point. And that's done by coming into Wi-Fi here and saying forget home network settings, always be an access point itself. Confirm. Now this tells you that your home network was forgotten and you have to go in with your computer you want to connect with this, go into Wi-Fi, connect, and give it the password ExpressLRS, one word lowercase. So right now on my radio, I'm going to power down quickly just to reboot it.
Welcome to OpenTX.
And I'm going to go back into the ExpressLRS Lua in the radio and turn on Wi-Fi connectivity. So now in order to flash one of these radios, you would have to use this right here, but I have to go in and connect to the access point inside that transmitter with my local computer. I've already done this before. I guess that security code fell out, didn't it? And we can go in here into that 10.0.0.1 address. And the ways you would do this is with this in there, and this default here of 10.0.0.1, you can see that's down here what that is associated with. I select here, build in flash. Yep, I can tell by the numbers out here that it's actually working this time. They're not all zero. So you have to click that select down there. There you go. Upload success. Back. I'll show you real quick when you do that. So you have to come back in here and connect again. And then this will let you get to it. Everything's copacetic. So the other way to flash this stuff is using this update right here. And you can see you have to have a file for that. So what you do for that in that case is you come into your configurator, choose the version you want, set it up for what you're trying to flash. This is the Pro, Happy Model Pro. Wi-Fi. You see, you can, if you like, build here, build only, and it builds a firmware for you. I usually take this and drop it on my desktop real quick, so I can find it more easily. And then with that build done, you come in here to this update. You browse to where that firmware file is you just created, desktop here. Open and click update. This is the other way to flash these radios. And basically, it's flashing right now. Hit update succeeded. Click OK. I'm going to go back into Wi-Fi mode while we're right here, right now. I'm going to reconnect with it this way. And now that I have it that way, I'm going to go back into 10.0.0.1, which it keeps putting up there for me. And I'm going to tell these things to connect back to my home access point by choosing the name of it from the list and giving it my access point password. And you see when it goes into Wi-Fi mode now, it's going to connect the Netgear 24 at the address ELRS_TX.local. Won't be here anymore, so I can power down my radio just to reboot it, power it back up.
Welcome to OpenTX.
I can get rid of this firmware off my desktop now. I don't like keeping anything on my desktop. Don't like a cluttered desktop. Go back into the Lua and the radio. Back down to Wi-Fi connectivity. Enable Wi-Fi. And it's doing its thing across the room. Whoops. Let's go ahead and turn back on the receiver. Let it start getting into Wi-Fi mode over there. And you see now again I'm able to use that mnemonic address rather than a straight numeric address, ELRS_TX.local, to get to this, to change things in here that I might need to change. You can save a configuration file out to your local computer, this, that, and the other. A lot of stuff can be done in here. And I'm still trying to do a little song and dance till the receiver gets in Wi-Fi mode. I'm going to leave both my receiver and my transmitter in this home Wi-Fi mode because it just seems to me like it's going to be easier. When you turn on your transmitter, you're going to have to go into the Lua and turn on Wi-Fi there before you can get to it. But when you just power up the receiver after 60 seconds, it will go into it. And as I've shown you before, you can get to both of them at the same time. And again, I don't know why that's coming up. I can't get rid of that. Here's your receiver. Here's your transmitter. Now, the last little thing I need to show is that I can turn on my radio.
Welcome to OpenTX.
With the radio on, I can turn on the receiver. I get a few flashes, and then I get a solid green light showing they are bound and they are currently perfectly connected and ready to start sending data back and forth. Let me see, is there anything else that I should say about this? Oh, let's see, when you go into the Lua with these this way, oops, you can see instead of exit at the bottom, it says other devices. And you can get in this loop here. You don't have an exit, and this won't come out of this Lua. What you have to do is go into other devices, choose that EP2400, which is the receiver, come to the bottom of that menu and hit exit, and you can get out of the Lua. Little software problems. They're not functional problems, but they are little quirks that I've seen in this. And the last thing I will show you is, now that they're bound together and talking, you can come into models, go over to telemetry, and say discover new sensors, and there's stop discovery, and there's 10 little sensor values, just like CRSF does on a crossfire receiver. You've got that small amount of telemetry. I bet dollars to donuts when I hook the transmit and receive wires up to a flight controller and power everything up, I'll have GPS, platform battery voltage, and all that inside those telemetry values on the radio too. Okay guys, that's it. I broke these up into 2 videos. I hope this one didn't get too long. Thank you guys very much.